2024 meeting of the Ware Conservation Commission. Let's see, on our membership, I'm Andy Fulton, the chair of the commission. To my left, we have the vice chair, Steve Major, Mike Camacho, secretary on my far left. Yeah. Sherry, member to my right, and don't have Ray. Next one over is Mark. Then we have Dave Pratt, our liaison from the Board of Selectmen, and Zuzu Tigsland at the far end. So we have a quorum and we are good to go. Now there's we've got an agenda, and we've got some guests in the audience, as it is our tradition. We'd like to have the guests come right on up to the podium and share your concern. This is our almost one of almost any opportunity for public comments at our meeting. And I apologize, I didn't get you guys on the agenda directly the other night or yesterday because it's skipped my brain and I didn't find it on email. So come on up, introduce yourself, and let us know how we can help you guys out.
Yes, thank you. I'm Brenda Lashway, 107 Buxton School Road. And through Laura, you were contacted because Friday night I came home from work and found, as a copy, like a 3-sentence letter from Meridian was sent to me as an abutter. There's a piece of property that's 28 acres, just forested, and wetlands next to me. I've been there 40 years, so it's been there longer than that. And that stayed, and a gentleman who lives in Mass bought it, and so he wants to build a pond. So I got the letter that said they're looking to apply to the state for permission to dredge and fill wetlands in order to make a pond. So there is already a pond on the property that he owns, but dredge and fill wetlands just kind of opened my eyes right there. If you know, Buxton School Road is essentially runs next to Peacock Brook. Peacock Brook owns us. And so I only own a little bit of the brook. A large part is on Mr. Birch's land. And so there's a few concerns that came about from this. The first one being, how do we know that the wetlands aren't going to be disturbed in some way and that there's not going to be something significant done that would affect the brook. Meridian says, and Mr. Birch says, oh no, we won't go near it. I did talk on Tuesday to Meridian. I was able to reach them, and they said they had filed a plan here in the town office, so I went up yesterday and got one, and I don't, you guys may or may not have been told about it. Not the greatest on with the keys and everything. It seems to me that this is the pond he wants to build. This is my land. This is Buxton School Road. This is what he would have as a road to enter down into the area he wants. The area that all the land he owns, which goes basically from my house all the way almost just about to the end of Buxton, ends at the Meaden's house. Most of it's got a lot of slope and then a lot of wetland. The only area really that doesn't is just like right next to my house. It's kind of flat there, flatter, so that's why they would want to build a road in there to get down to where he wants to build his pond. But the brook is here. It's really to the edge of where he's thinking of building this pond, which is also very deep. Feel free to.
Let me go ahead and take that, Brenda, and I'll read some of the notes.
Okay, that would be great. So that's the first big concern is this feasible? Is it risking damaging the wetlands, and not just, you know, my little part of the brook, but the other aspect was I was notified as an abutter. There's not many of us that are actual abutters, so I was kind of surprised, not knowing much about how these things work, that more people wouldn't have been notified, because you know, that whole strip of people who live on that street and then into New Boston, because I'm right on the New Boston line, have an interest in how those wetlands proceed and making sure that nothing is done to the flow before it gets to their house. So that was my big concern. It looks like it's a pretty deep, significant area. There's something on it about needing a pump, so I don't know if he's gonna use a pump in the pond, how it's gonna be powered. Yeah, so then the second issue would be the road itself. He wrote temporary on the map, but who knows? This is another one of our neighbors here. So he wrote temporary on the map, but
Yeah.
I don't know what he means by that. If the point is he wants to be able to access his property, then I don't know what the rule is about how if I have any protection from somebody coming really, how close to my property they can or can't come to build a road. That's gonna be pretty significant, because he's gonna need some kind of heavy equipment to go all the way down there to dig out something of that size. And so those were a lot of the concerns. Also, whether you're familiar, Buxton School Road, it's a very steep road. And so basically the base of the biggest hill is right in front of my house. Already over the years, people are always sliding off there whenever the weather is bad. The drainage is very bad, just going down that road in general. We continually have problems with it every year. So I'm just thinking, if someone's going in with heavy equipment up and down that dirt road, might be a safety issue with people who may be coming down there. I know if a bus comes down there, that's the only vehicle that's gonna fit. And the buses do come through every day, of course, with the children. So the safety of that, and then the possibility of there being road damage as that tree line is being cut down and people are going in and out and exposing dirt and mud, and also draining down onto the property below it, because my property and then Corinne's property and Jillian's property next door. So those were concerns that I had. I don't know, maybe you got, and I'm hoping you guys maybe will give me sense, so before I leave, Brenda, call this person or that person, or do this or that I don't, or nope, it's all good, it'll definitely go through, don't worry about it, I don't know. I will be sending a letter, because it says that I can, to the DES, but I wanted to get more knowledge and information before I did that. I've talked to some of my neighbors, and they do have concerns, even though they're not here tonight, but oh, when I came to get the map, I found out from here, from the office, the lady told me that tomorrow night, he's going before the planning board. I had no idea about that, so I was kind of surprised that that's not something that at least the abutters, if not other interested parties, would have heard about, but she's the first one who mentioned it to me. And I don't know, his property is current use, so I've already described what the current use was prior to his purchasing it. So I don't know if this falls into the definition of current use, if it's still a current use property if he chooses to do this. I don't know, that's the gist of it, and any input that you have, or if you give it some more thought after tonight, if there's any thoughts you have, I would greatly appreciate any input. Thank you.
Did you plan on going to the planning board meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, I just rearranged my schedule so I could, at least to see what it's all about, and like listen and maybe become informed. I don't know if they're making any decisions tomorrow night, or if they're just like listening to the proposal or what, but I'll go see.
Brenda, let me know what time that is.
So the planning board thing was the result of the change to the buffer ordinance, guaranteed. And the jam that through, and now it's gonna be, so something's gonna come back to us from that.
The change to what?
The so we had a wetland buffer ordinance, so so there's a there used to be a 25-foot buffer around all wetlands, and then they rewrote that this year, and it's way more complicated now. Is that what that's for now?
Never hit the ballot.
Not this year.
No, they pulled it.
Oh, they did pull it?
Yeah.
If opposed, it can pull it.
Oh, all right.
So right now,
the buffer applies then, so this whole thing would have to go to ZBA.
so that they would just review it to make sure that it fits the criterion?
I have no idea what the planning board has to do with it, then I thought they pushed
Okay.
that through. So they did pull that, huh?
Conceptual
Yeah,
meeting.
you guys, they pulled it before it ever hit the ballot.
Oh, I thought they pushed it.
No. They
Okay.
talked to Tom Carr, he made the whole presentation.
I'm getting old and forget.
Well,
Okay.
we weren't told about it, it just happened.
Conceptual meeting, Thomas Birch, owner, Meridian Land Service agent, Buxton School Road, tax map 41133, rural agricultural zone. The agent on behalf of the owner is proposing a wildlife pond to diversify the wildlife habitats.
Oh,
Weird.
yeah, particularly he keeps saying he's interested in turkeys and deer. Which I have a lot of, but not mentioned, which
May
came as
you
an
step up
afterthought.
to the
I'm sorry.
podium?
Nobody's actually.
But not mentioned, is the beaver. So it is a wetland, but it's also a beaver wetland. There's very active beaver activity out there, and there has been as long as I've lived there. I went out there today, and there just couldn't count how many trees had been cut down, and there's, so, those are,
It sounds like there's a conceptual meeting tomorrow with the planning board,
okay.
so that'd be a good time to bring
Talk
that
about
up.
those things? Okay, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
So, just, can I say something?
Please, go ahead, Steve. And
How is that even under the planning board's purview? It's not a
Can I
change.
just shed some light? So we don't have a big mystery in the room. So, Naomi Bolton, we do not have a code enforcement officer, we do not have a zoning administrator. So when someone calls and wants to do something and says, hey, do I have to go to zoning, do I have to go to planning, do I have to go somewhere? They're offered a conceptual, which is no notification to the abutter, it gets put on the agenda, nothing is binding, it's information gathering. At that point, they'll say, you need to go for a variance, you need to go somewhere. But there's no one in the office right now, we don't have that person, so the easiest thing to do is to send them to conceptual, therefore the plan gets put on record as to what they're planning on doing. They can have a two-way constructive conversation with the planning board so that they know what they're doing, and then the planning board can say, all right, we're gonna flip to article whatever for wetlands. You need to go because of the 25-foot wetlands. Then there's already on the record what he's doing and where he has to go. Right now, it's the easiest because, as I said, we don't have those 2 seats filled.
So that's
So
a new,
everybody
a new
that
procedure
calls-
for triaging.
It is right now because I'm not making that decision. The board of selectmen's not gonna make that decision. So between the two, that's when they come and we just offer them that. There's no fee, there's no abutter notification, there's no, anything. They can come and get the conversation out there on the air for everybody to know. Then the next step would be whatever hearing they'll go to, abutters would be notified and things like that from there. But there's at least an open conversation put on the record as to what's going on. Easier, easiest, cleanest right now.
Go ahead, Steve.
Do we know if, the
Thank you,
map that was
Naomi.
in, thanks, Naomi. Naomi, this is actually a question for you. Do we know if that's a standard dredge and fill application that they grabbed this map from?
Hang on, you have the application in your box.
Okay.
It didn't go to your box.
Andy?
It's a minimum impact wetland application.
So they would need us to,
It's already been signed by the town clerk, it's sent to Concord.
I thought we had to sign them in. Oh, no,
Town clerk signed it.
expedited, we have to sign it.
Mhm, expedited, yeah.
Andy?
Go ahead, Lori.
I am Lori Davis. I live at 118 Buxton School Road. I live across from this piece of property. Meridian has been parking along the side of my property. Tommy's been parking directly across my driveway. So when I come out of my driveway, I can't pull into the lane I'm supposed to because he's there, and he and I have talked about that, so that's fixed. But I didn't get my mail most of this winter because Tommy was there and Meridian was over here. We had two problems with our propane people because they couldn't, they're big trucks. Meridian was in the pathway of them to hit our driveway. So that became a problem. I spoke to Meridian about this. I should have been on the abutter list for this because every in and out they do on that property affects me. And Meridian is in this town a lot. We've done work with them. This is the most narrow part of the road of Buxton School. And if you pretend this is the road, this is my house, this is his property, and it goes west. And Brenda's property is down here right next to it, okay? From Brenda's property to the end of my property line up here, you're on a hill like this, higher than a 22% grade. The people coming over here have no sight line. On top of that, there is just enough room on a good day where my expedition and a school bus can pass without my side view mirrors just barely hitting the bus. So when you have Meridian here, the property owner here, nobody can get through. Now they want to put in an access road, which that's a whole different thing. Part of that has to be cleared by highway, part of it has to be cleared by PD, and part of it has to be cleared by fire because it's all those things come into play. Where we have a bigger problem is it is a dirt road. The drainage on it is horrendous in that area. And if anybody parks on it, nobody's going to be able to get through. On top of that, the damage to it, either the town's going to eat it, and it's not a road the town normally takes care of. They do a decent job, but it's not their job to repair it. So you're going to have to wonder about that. But planning board, I hear what Naomi's saying, but when you take something to the planning board, it's now out in the public. And the people that abut don't know squat about it. There's been no notification. So if you're going to take something public like that, you have to let the abutters know because they're going to get blindsided. And most people don't know how things work. They don't know how it works with conservation, planning, zoning. They don't know to call DES because on the letter it says, if you have questions, you can write DES. Anybody who looks at that address, because I called the governor's office, it'll go into a circular file and never be found again. It should have had a name with a specific box for it to go to. But again, that wasn't done. So it's sloppy, and I've talked to Tommy. He maintains it's not coming anywhere near the brook. I don't know, I haven't seen. But the fact that I just found out that this is going to planning board, I don't normally watch planning board. Now I have to go to another meeting about this. We should have been told. I don't care who we don't have in place in town. Whenever you're going to a planning board to discuss a change or something that affects the people around you, you got to have notification. You absolutely do. That's not your problem. But from your aspect, Piscatawag's got to focus into this because they've got wetlands coming off the New Boston side. So there's a lot of questions of who's involved with this. Now, if you look at that property, I've been told that there's the dry property, the wetlands, and then there's dry property further back, and technically if somebody wanted to, they could put a bridge and build on that dry property. I don't know. So that's another question that's just coming up, so I'm just curious.
Oh, yeah, this is all new to us, and even from a conceptual standpoint, I don't think we've ever dealt with the new pond creation in town. So I think ultimately, on the buffer ordinance, it will swing around to us at some point. It didn't on the wetland permitting, so we are finding out, from you guys. And it's kind of quick puts us behind the 8 ball, and honestly, our role at this point is minimal. But we're glad to hear about it, glad that you put it on our radar, and it at least becomes something that we keep track of. It's very interesting that it is proposing a 18-foot deep pond.
Did anyone mention how deep it is? Does
Not-
anyone know?
Not until, no, not until right now. It's proposed, I think the deepest part, so proposed to be 18 feet deep.
Sorry, I was late. I teach yoga at the Holy Cross Church
No
until
problem.
7.
So go ahead and introduce yourself
I'm
and share
Jillian
your
Randall.
interest.
I grew up in town. Technically, my permanent address is still in Ware. My mother lives next to Brenda. So she had concern. She said that since Tommy has been down there doing his work, and I've met him twice, she's seen less wildlife in her yard, which is very disappointing. And she's wondering where the water's gonna come from to fill the pond. My concern, I have been walking, I mean, I've lived in Ware my whole life. I've been walking this property forever. I went down to meet him. I heard his chainsaw going off. Went to introduce myself. He told me he didn't want me walking on the property. He doesn't want anyone on the property. Posted it. I counted, in a 2-minute walk, 38 no trespassing signs. Took videos and pictures. That's just 2 minutes walking his property. And then I called Mary Ann, for the building and assessing in town. And she said that that is in use and he gets a recreation credit for it. So he's not allowed to post that property and I'm allowed to walk on it. So the first thing I did after I got off the phone with her was drive out there, walk the property, counted the signs. I went and saw he has cut down so many trees. One of them fell across the brook, so he had to go and cut it a second time just to reposition it so it wasn't blocking the flow of the water, but repositioning, he didn't pull it out of the water. It's still blocking a third of the brook. So that part of the brook has narrowed. And I'm sure he has a right to build bridges. There's bridges down there. It's kind of a slap in the face that he's saying we can't walk his property because at one point he was using someone's property to get all his equipment across the brook. I asked him about that face to face. It was the first time in the conversation that he paused and didn't have an answer for me. I said, how did you get all these chainsaws and equipment across the brook? Because the brook cuts him off completely straight across his property. So he had to have used someone else's property to get there. And who knows how long he was doing that for. And the thing that, I don't know if this is too personal, but he said to me on the phone multiple times, it's his boyhood dream to own a trout pond. This is all about his ego. It's not about the environment. He's trying to convince himself it's good for the environment. There's already a pond on that property. It's already on his property. And there's no reason, and there is no space to build that pond and still have the clearance between the wetlands. I mean, there isn't. I don't know how this could ever pass. But my final question is, does the DES have the final say, or is there any way the town can stop this from happening? Or is that a question for research?
I believe ultimately the decision is with the DES.
Okay.
There is
You're the second person to tell me that.
a role for the town.
Okay. What
And-
do you see that as?
Advisory, sharing extra information,
Okay.
even, potentially even building a case and taking a position for or against.
Okay.
But that's just advisory to the folks who make the decision. I don't think it's discounted.
Okay.
Disclosure, I work for DES in a different division, and we have another member who works for DES in a different division. Our work doesn't touch wetlands at all. So we have a sense about our department, and I believe the folks in Wetlands Bureau take these things seriously and don't, they don't do a flippant job and just rubber stamp things. So I think there'd be a good look, but any time that abutters, local officials, local volunteers or committee, board, commission members share information, I think it does register. Especially when it's, fairly technical in nature and, works on the merits of the application and the conditions on the ground. Those sort of cases, or making a case, I think would be considered and given reasonable consideration on what they conclude from the state.
And then, do you have any sense of, do they do an on-site visit? I'm assuming
Should.
they should,
Absolutely
okay,
should.
so they'll be able to see. I didn't go far enough because it was raining. But I did want to assess, and I can go out there tomorrow now that I know I can go on the property, and see how much the beaver activity may have changed.
Yeah, that's certainly disappointing to hear that
Based on what he's,
the nature of current use is not apparently understood or is being,
no, and he told me on the phone he kicked some hunters off the property the other day. And I mean, I haven't.
those two positions typically don't go together very well.
Yeah, I haven't walked the property. I mean, it's just a 10-minute walk. I haven't walked the property since he told me over the summer I wasn't allowed to. But I am curious based on the amount of his activity that I saw. He said he didn't want me and my dogs on the property because we would disrupt nature. Based on the amount of activity he has back there, it doesn't surprise me that my mom's saying she sees way less wildlife walking through her yard now. I mean, I thought it was beaver activity at first. He's hacked into probably 20 trees in just one spot where it looks like he took an axe all the way around it. And I don't know what he's doing. Again, he said it's his boyhood dream. The first time I met him, he said he was having a midlife crisis.
If that activity coincides with where the...
It's on the opposite side of the brook.
Yeah, so it's not coincident with this proposal.
Right,
See, and
because
apparently
I
including
said
what's
to
going on.
Brenda, I said, which side of the brook is he proposing this? Because certainly heavy machinery can't be crossing the brook. And across the brook is where he's doing all this other stuff. So I didn't get to go far enough into where there's multiple beaver dams, but I can do that tomorrow because I'm very curious. They were so active all last year. I mean, I have so many pictures of all the activity of the beavers, but I'm wondering how much that would have changed now that he's living out his midlife crisis, as he said.
Go ahead, Steve.
I just want to add a little to what you said. So the town's part of this, in addition to weighing in with the Wetlands Bureau, if the upland surrounding the wetland, 25 feet, is impacted and it's not in compliance with the wetland buffer ordinance, which there are some exemptions in this, so I don't know in this case, and the town, then he has to go to ZBA, and the town actually does have a yes or no, and then they can go to court if they don't like the results from that. And then I would just, in the other discussion, the posted sign, so the town we still have, as a town, like a complaint form, so if you're absolutely sure of that recreational tax break, I mean, I'd highly suggest filling out the complaint form, and then I just wanna make it clear, I'm not encouraging you to trespass at all, and that's like murky when somebody's got posted signs up. I wouldn't myself go on there until I knew for sure what was going on and how those laws play out against each other.
I mean, according to Mary Ann, she was looking up in the town system when I was on the phone with her. She said it's in use and he gets a recreation credit for it. He absolutely is not allowed to tell you can't walk on it.
I would just want to clearly say, I don't know, but I would fill out the complaint form and hand it to the Board of Selectmen to let them act. If that is the case, then they can deal with it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I just want to be real clear that I'm not saying that, or I don't think we should encourage any of that.
Thank you, Steve. That's a good point.
So,
Yeah, I mean, but also documenting the impacts. If this passes, we need to document how it looks now and how it's gonna look after he's done with his work is important. So I know that you're not encouraging anything, but there is good reason for going out there and taking pictures. So, that's everything that I had in the 3 seconds I could collect my thoughts when I got here. So thank you for listening to our issues.
Thank you. Does anybody at the table know whether, on a minimum, we get any invitation from DES, Wetlands Bureau, to weigh in, or is this the extent of the town's awareness or notification that work is intended? Oftentimes we get CC'd on letters, either the application's deficient or the permit's been issued, we'll get a CC, but that's after the fact if something's issued.
So there's a lot going on, so I'm not sure about your question, but there's also a waiver to the rule request in this particular application. I mean, I think it would merit writing a letter of concern with this, because we're converting, it's a really old school thing to do. It's kind of frowned on nowadays to convert one wetland type to another, you know, for the sake of essentially trout pond is what it says in here. So, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to write them a letter of concern with this application.
Yeah.
Lori
Lori?
Davis, again. I would like to put forth a few things. When Mr. Birch bought this property, before he bought it, he did go to Meridian and another company to see if this was possible to do. And he bought it under the understanding that he could do that. Number two, you can have your land in conservation and still post it. That's perfectly legal.
But he's getting a tax credit,
Mhm.
allow use on it.
And you'll find a lot of people in this state do. The liability when people are on your property is a problem, but what is a concern is I think everybody needs to look at the laws and understand the ramifications of what's going to be opened up once we start this. Because that land can be sold for development if he doesn't like it, and if we start going after people who are posting their land, and it is legal, I've checked with the state, there's going to be problems with other people. So we just need to think about all of this.
Fair enough. Anybody else want to weigh in for the record? Thank you, Brenda. And I'm sorry,
Jillian,
thank you, Jillian, I should remember that. That's
no,
my
you're fine.
youngest daughter's name. Is that with a
Okay,
G?
you're not fine, you should have remembered
All right,
that.
there you go. Is that with a G or a J?
With a J.
With that J. In my defense, my daughter's is with a G.
But you didn't know that.
All right, so we're on the front end of this, thanks to you guys. If you didn't come in here, we'd have zero. And if I did not have somebody mention that I had an application in the conservation box, we wouldn't have known about this tonight. So thank you for bringing it to our attention. There will be, I very much imagine, additional opportunities to discuss this together here at our meetings. But I hope you've got some flavor of where we can be of assistance or involved with something like this. And then we're gonna learn lots over the next couple of months. Short of it is, yeah, it's a pretty big deal. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And did everybody get a name on our guest attendance sheet?
Yes, I got you, I got Alan, I got Jillian, I got Greg, I got Brenda, I don't know these two.
She just needs your name.
Yeah, just need a sign in on the attendance sheet.
He lives in my house, it's my grandson.
Okay, and
Lily St. Clair. I don't live here.
She lives in the town.
Lily St. Clair? That's fine.
I think just for the record, I'll read a portion of the application. The purpose of the proposed pond is to diversify the wildlife habitats on the subject parcel. The owner's intention is to stock the pond with native trout. Maximum depth of the pond is proposed to be 17.6 feet deep. Approximately 37% of the pond will have water depths more than 10 feet. This will assist in thermal stratification, maximizing the potential for healthy trout habitat. The property is 27 plus or minus acres and is entirely undeveloped. From Buxton School Road, the property slopes down to the subject wetland area. This wetland area is relatively flat with a break and slope down to the riverine system of Peacock Brook. The land then rises on the westerly side of Peacock Brook. The pond site was chosen because it is a concave area at the toe of a slope. Groundwater feeds the current area which created the existing wetland. This is the ideal location for a pond due to the site's topography and hydrology. Groundwater will feed the pond and maintain its hydrology. At the southeastern portion of the proposed pond is a natural low point that slopes to the southwest. A 60-foot-long, 2-foot-high berm is proposed in this location to control the pond's surface water elevation during rain events. The rainwater will flow evenly over the top to allow for a dispersed sheet flow. This will prevent a point discharge and erosion down gradient. The area between Buxton School Road and the subject wetland area has an average slope of 20%. Due to the slopes, it is not a viable option for a pond. The pond location was chosen to avoid impacts to a higher value wetland, Peacock Brook, and steep slopes. The northern portions of the site off Buxton School Road have slopes more than 30%, which do not allow for pond construction. Peacock Brook bisects the lot north to south, which prevents access to the western portions of the lot without impacting Peacock Brook. With these conditions elsewhere on the site, the proposed pond location is the most suitable. The pond intended use will be for wildlife habitat, specifically trout. For trout to survive, they need large amounts of deep water. Therefore, the pond size is to ensure a healthy habitat for fish and other wildlife. Overall, this is the best location for the pond based on site conditions. This project will enhance the function and value of the existing PF 01B wetland area. Currently, the wetland area has little flood storage, does not support fish or waterfowl. By creating a wildlife pond, the goal is to provide fish and waterfowl habitat. Deep pockets are proposed to support fish habitat. Emergent wetland plants are proposed to provide food for waterfowl. Recreation and visual quality will be enhanced by diversifying wetland types and providing an area to kayak and fish. Surface flow will be captured by the pond, aiding in flood storage. Overall, this project will enhance the function and values of the existing wetland area while creating diverse wildlife habitat. So, a fair bit more about intention there. Anything question-wise or thoughts from the commission on this first item? There being none, I'll say we're all set with this item, and we'll keep moving on through our agenda. And thank you both for speaking.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
It's not necessarily an easy thing, and having a spokesperson or two will serve you well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We have some minutes to review. Anybody come prepared with comments or having had a look at those April minutes? Not so much tonight, so we're gonna hold off on those unless I hear otherwise. And
You're also missing February, you've never approved the February minutes.
okay,
That
thanks.
might be a list.
Yep.
February 14th has never been approved, so.
Need the Valentine's Day minutes. Oops. need to review and approve yet. Thanks for pointing that out. And the only other item involving DES that I think of is, we did have our site walk at the end of the Duck Pond subdivision road, that Skeeto Road, and speaking of Wetland Bureau actions requested, that is that's a pretty big deal. So, one thing I observed when looking at the state database for wetlands permits was that this one had a response date of April 28th, a due date for the applicant in the application to respond to the request for additional information. I don't know where that stands. So, wondering if anybody would like to take lead on this one and try to inquire with the Department of Environmental Services as to the status. Not knowing is, I guess, not terribly helpful to us.
Yeah, I can reach out.
Thank you. Steve?
So we know the issue's been raised and it should have, does it have a file number at this point?
Yes.
So, I mean, based on what we've seen, I mean, wouldn't it be just good to take a position now? I mean, from my perspective, you know, just knowing that wood turtles are in the area, they're a federal candidate species, that's probably, you know, potential, corridor for them to travel, that it's unreasonable to go along with a fill of that magnitude versus something that's more crossable by wildlife, and just say that's our concern, we recommend you do not approve the change. You know, and that way you don't even have to bother messing with it. Because if another month goes by and then DES takes action, we've kind of lost our opportunity.
Yeah, that's, it struck me the same way, that the proposed change to the crossing of the ravine or the gully or the small valley, the swale, would be a substantial change on potential wildlife utility of a river corridor.
Yeah, I mean, I'd also suggest to DES that it merits a site walk. They've got a significant construction-related blowout and erosion problem that's currently impacting the stream. And, you know, maybe they can tackle that, but those would really be my two concerns, looking at that.
Yeah, and it's a potential, there's potential that Zuzu's inquiry could reveal that has happened and maybe provide some information back.
Is there a formal channel for providing them our thoughts, or if I call to ask about the status, can I just convey some of these concerns about wildlife accidents?
We have, not sure where it is, but we have the CC we received that kind of gave us a heads up from a conservation standpoint that this was being proposed. So that CC would include a name. And that's so much better when you can get right to a manager on it. who filed the February letter was Jessica Schultz. Schulz. And her number is 271-4188.
And the permit number,
Oh, yeah. DS file number 2024-00057.
okay.
Go ahead, Sue.
So I'd ask again, is there any reason why we wouldn't just take a position now based on what we've seen?
No.
I would surely motion to write a letter to DES indicating our concern with the proposed change, and it could be a significant wildlife corridor, and we are aware of a wood turtle record at Duck Pond. We could add which is a federal candidate species, and we could also add the New Hampshire state status, which, and then, second line, we were also concerned with the erosion from the construction, related failure along a bank adjacent to the proposed crossing. And where are we? Reptiles. Oh, I guess wood is not on the state list, amazingly enough.
Not on state list, but federal list.
Well, it's under consideration for the federal list. It's it's a candidate with a review that's due.
All right, so we're gonna have to have another go at that motion. So Steve's made a motion to, correct me if I'm wrong, recommend to DES that it not approve the permitting change as proposed due to concern for wood duck habitat.
Wood turtle.
Oh, sorry. Wood turtle, thank you, habitat.
I'd say potential there.
So wood turtle habitat potential. We also noted bank failure from the development impacting the floodplain.
Yeah, before that, I put in the potential for the wildlife corridor as well.
Yeah.
I'm not, that's a
Habitat and
concern we'll have. I don't have game cameras out there or anything, but looks
well,
pretty obvious.
all right, due to the wood turtle habitat potential and overall potential wildlife corridor impact. We've also noted bank failure from the recent development impacting the wetlands or the floodplain?
It doesn't look like the failure went so low as
It's entering the stream.
Yeah, the flags are down though, too. Yeah, there's sand in the stream,
Mhm.
actually, yeah.
So that would be impacting the wetlands and stream. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Steve, seconded by Mark Phillips. Do we have further discussion or commentary? All right, those in favor of the motion, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? I think I heard anyone. So all in favor. So Zuzu, I appreciate your willingness to give Allison, Jessica Schultz, that's with a J, not a G, a call, seeing where things stand relating that the commission has recommended against approving the modified permit, or the new permit. And letting me know how, if they need that in a different fashion, in writing or email, whatever might, if anything needs to follow up with verbal,
Okay.
let me know, and we can get that over to them also.
The intent of the motion was for that to be in writing.
The intent was for that to be in writing.
Well, I can determine the status, and if it is still happening, they didn't miss the deadline, I will send a letter, I will relay it verbally, and I can also send a follow-up with a letter.
Thank you. All right, well, I think that moves us down to the bids for the Barden property, asbestos abatement and building demolition. Suzu, sorry, I moved a little too quickly. Would you be aided by having a copy of,
Yeah, I can, if it's
Jessica's
okay
letter?
that I take it, I did write down her name, the number, and the file number, so I don't need it.
all right, then I'll keep that.
Okay.
Can we scan it and send it to everybody as we sit here?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Steve. All right, now we're trying to get into bid opening mode, finally. Mike, did we get word out to all the bidders that we're opening now? Or,
The ones that inquired, I mean, I get 2 or 3 of them inquired.
right, I saw some of the email inquiries. Okay, and we're posted properly for the bid opening? We got all that?
It's on your agenda.
Does it need to be anywhere other than on the agenda?
Well, you announced when you were gonna open it at your next meeting, when you
Right.
talked about on the 19th, because Mike brought you back information. So that's in your minutes, and I believe your minutes, you were going to open. Because you guys were gonna try to meet a separate date, and you guys decided on doing it at your next meeting.
All right, so we're all,
In construction summary, you got the amendment.
all right, so we're all clear for the bid opening. We have no, none of the bidding outfits present. Any other thoughts on this, as you've been thankfully taking point on it, Mike?
No, I'll just reiterate that,
Oh, good.
the sampling company went out, sampled the garage, dome, secondary building, and, samples were analyzed, came back non-detect for asbestos-containing materials.
Just to clarify that, Mike, I read his report, the final paragraph of that wasn't too, what's the right word to use, said it wasn't supposed to use for bidding or, and he only took 4 samples.
So
That he
it
could
wasn't
reach.
supposed to be used for bidding?
Yeah, if you read the last paragraph.
I did not pick up on that.
That seems incongruous. Anybody have have access to a copy of that report so we can double check?
I can't get it.
Yeah, I got it on my phone.
You want a hard copy?
Sure, please, thank you.
What is your response?
All right, this is under section 5 of the asbestos survey report for Brothers Environmental for the property of 487 North Stark Highway, Ware. The last paragraph has some of the about a third of the limitations. So it says, assessment were prepared for the town of Ware, that's us. And then a lot of caveats, might not be appropriate for somebody other than the town of Ware, okay? We're not gonna assign the report to somebody else, a third party, it's for our use, okay? Yeah, like all limitations say, if something changed and we weren't aware of something, then that's not on us, that's on you. We went with the available information. Doesn't warrant against future operations or conditions. And then it says, this document is not designed for bidding purposes. This report is not to be provided to potential bidders for the purpose of soliciting proposals for asbestos abatement, which kind of shoots the whole purpose of hiring an environmental company to prepare an asbestos survey report. So,
Was this language on the original report, or is this new since the amendment was added?
so,
This one seemed to have a lot more detail than the original one. Let me look.
it's, strikes me as lawyerly recommended. CYA for any and all potentials, so,
Over harmless.
yeah. It, a limitation that precludes the utility of a work product is very squirrely, but it doesn't strike me as something that should worry us in the least.
Same wording as in the original.
Yeah.
At at the bottom there? Okay. I don't know why I didn't pick up on that. Good job there, Mark.
You know, certainly, if we were to look for future asbestos survey work, we might
Go for
just say, hey, strike that language, that is clearly why we are doing this work. And, you know, probably on the initial solicitation for quote or proposal, it was pretty clear what we were asking for, so.
And it was for demolition of the building.
I don't know, I think that's a thin attempt at being able to dodge any and everything, which I guess you can't blame them for, but we're gonna use it.
Okay.
Everybody comfortable with that? All right, let's open bids at 8:10. So, I'm gonna ask you to pull it out and, yep, in any particular order.
Beers Brother?
Just pass it down.
One for you.
All right, Spears Brothers, line item 1 is 5,500, that's the abatement. Line item 2 is 24,100. 24,100, that's Spears Brothers, Building, Salvage, and Wrecking Incorporated. We have 3 references. They're indicating they've got their OSHA training. See, you know, there's all their information there, so I think they're missing anything. Anything else we asked for
Just
specific?
running through my head right now.
So they had 2 numbers, Steve. One was for,
Line item 1
yeah,
and line item 2.
one being 5,500, 2 24 grand.
29,600 would be the total, if you had both.
What do you got, Mike?
Always reckon. Has the asbestos contractor license number, State of New Hampshire projects. So it's got its references, 3 references, City of Berlin, City of Franklin, State of New Hampshire. It's got one line item, 17,971.
That's an aggregate number?
That appears that way.
Say that again, 17,971.
17,971.
Interesting number.
I mean, they're just saying they're not,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, they just left that blank.
There are, under the additional items, any tree needed for access can be cut, wood to be set aside, left on property. Buried concrete sonotubes, I don't know what
Sona,
that is. Okay.
yeah, the paper tube that's filled with
And
concrete.
they say they will leave the slab. Which I think we all said was perfectly fine.
Yep. Susan, what you got?
Triple Construction LLC. There's no references, nothing but, two line items. Line item 1, abatement, $13,281. Line item 2, demolition, $33,231. NA for additional items, contractor suggests should be addressed, and details just say abatement of hazardous materials will be followed by specified demolition of structures.
Definitely not pole position on that one. All right, so the numbers are higher on that one, and perhaps we have a efficiency in that references were not provided. Mark, what do you have?
Alpine Environmental out of Massachusetts. The base abatement says house only, $6,175. Line item 2, demolition of the house, lean-to and barn, $25,620. They have a note here, the asbestos survey does not have an items tested from the barn. Any SAHP survey will need to be provided for the barn prior to demolition, which we have. Any ACM discovered after the build shall be treated and priced as a change order. They have listed all their licenses. They have listed multiple references, and they're also involved in some TV shows like This Old House and stuff. They have Mass, Vermont, Rhode Island. They're OSHA certified. What's their team? So it has everything we asked for.
But the number breakdown is a little bit different than what we asked for, is that true?
No, they had the abatement, but it says the house only,
House only.
Which is all.
pending upon the survey for the barn.
Okay, I'm sorry, what was the abatement number? So that's line item 1.
$6,175.
6175?
And then for the demolition of the house, the lean-to and the barn, $25,620.
For a 31,795, right?
Mhm.
So it sounds. No, it looks very much like, is it Always Wrecking? Is that the, how's the name spelled there, Mike, on that one?
All dash ways wrecking,
Oh, dash, okay.
Bridgewater, New Hampshire.
Well, clearly at 17,971, their number's the most aggressive.
Did they include their insurance? 'Cause they were supposed to, everybody was supposed to put in their liability insurance.
That's what I was in the middle of looking into, yeah.
Because they were supposed to include their insurance and their bidder. Okay, do that.
So after the award, they would provide that?
And I would think you check references before you award, but that's my 2 cents.
Yep, and I'd wanna look up we get a license number for the asbestos contractor, I'd wanna look that up.
Make sure it's current.
So for the record, Town Administrator Bolton was suggesting that it'd be a good idea to have a look at the references before awarding, and what was the second one? Verifying the licenses were accurate and
Current.
current, yeah.
And that you're gonna get the insurance.
Right, and the insurance cert would be requested upon award.
Did we require submission of the license numbers in the South? This company actually didn't give us license numbers.
This one's
They just said
supplied.
they're licensed.
They said
Alpine
they're,
supplied theirs.
they said they've got a 10-hour OSHA safety course and asbestos awareness training.
Yeah, you need to be licensed or certified to do you need more than, I don't know if they call it awareness training. You get a little badge.
Yeah, I'm sure they just, I mean, with that kind of a company, I think they maybe just didn't clearly articulate what they're
Mm-hmm.
certified to.
Yep.
Oh, you know,
Yep.
but anyhow, just note that they didn't put that down.
That was Spear.
Yeah. I don't know, I don't see it anywhere here. Second set of eyes.
And was that the same?
I don't know that we
Yeah, I don't
asked for
see
that.
any OSHA certifications, no license numbers, no,
I don't know that we specifically asked for companies to provide a license number.
okay.
Okay.
You don't, and I don't believe, I can double check, you either need to be certified or licensed. It's not even necessarily, but I'd have to double check that one. That might be just the inspector. The person doing the work might have to be licensed. But yeah, we'd obviously wanna know that before
This
the
company,
work's done.
this company Alpine listed a scope of work for both bid items, so we have that.
Yeah, Alpine went, it sounds like they went pretty deep in providing information and references, and kind of a little bit above and beyond on that, which is interesting, good. We already said that Triple Construction, right, didn't even provide references.
Correct.
It's not helpful.
Yeah, I'm trying to get what we did, have required to be submitted, I'm just not finding it yet.
You needed a original bid was in a sealed envelope.
Original bids and sealed envelope, check everyone, yep.
In the case of mailed or third party, the outer envelope must clearly be marked asbestos removal. All information must be submitted in blue, black ink or typewritten. Errors, alterations, or corrections must be initialed by the person signing the bid. An authorized person representing the legal entity of the bidder must sign the bids. Bids are valid for 60 days after bids are open. Bids are not withdrawn, canceled, or modified within the 60 days. Town reserves the right to waive any non-material deficiencies or irregularities in a bid when such a waiver is in the best interest. At the time the first bid is open, each bidder is presumed to have become familiar. Failure of omission to receive examination, specifications, award assurance. Talks about limits. It said, town awares to appear as an additional insured. All insurance shall not be canceled or modified within 30 days written notice. Once you award the bid, you're gonna award it to the most responsive and responsible bidder. That bidder is in person. Town, most bids in procedural, town reserves right. prior to the execution of a contract, the contractor shall furnish a performance bond, a letter of credit, or cash bond in at least an equal amount of 100% of the total contract as security for the town. Contractor awards the project will have to supply us with a W-9. And they're supposed to put it on the bid forms, so there's some work still to do.
Right, but certainly, I think we're looking square at Always Wrecking right now. There's nothing that Naomi read from the bid solicitation package that Always Wrecking has stumbled on, correct?
Other than it was a total, not split in two, right? Because we asked that the project is multi-phase and independent quotes requested for each line item. Line 1 is to abate and dispose all the asbestos containing the material listed in the below chart. 2 was to demolish the buildings, including the single-family home, the one-story barn, and the lean-to. They all must be demolished to the concrete slab. All above-ground materials, shingles, and other materials are to be disposed of in accordance with the town of Ware assessing card, the period established, and 180 days from the award. You have to keep it clean, maintain a clean site, provide 3 references. I have read you the rest of it.
Yeah.
And it says that the contractor receiving the bid is responsible for permitting requirements of DES. So he'll have to get a permit. And then town permits and inspections are required at no cost, so they'll have to get a demolition permit from us as well. So there's some things after you check references that still have to be done.
Right, so I think the point here we want to make a determination on is whether the fact that it was not split into items 1 and 2, is
You
that,
would right away that.
is that relevant? Does that change? Or does that leave us with a concern? And I think the purpose of having that split was that we might, award, based on those numbers, part of the bid to one contractor and another to the other part to a different contractor. I think given their total dollar amount is, below each of the other line item number $2, sort of eliminates our concern for that. So, looks to me like we've got a prospective award, but some work to do to go there. The other thing to think about, and I ask you, Dave, to weigh in on this a little bit, is at what point would this be helpful to the Board of Selectmen to consider the information? Would do you know, or can you guess whether the Board of Selectmen would like to see the bids, assess the bids before further action, or would it be more helpful to share the information that we have a prospective award and we're going to collect the additional information, references, and things like that?
I don't believe we have to see the bids. I believe your assessment and award is up to you. Yeah, notification would be nice.
So, we're working on a town forest. Town forests are managed by the Conservation Commission. We're following the town purchasing policy to get a service completed. I'm just trying to talk my way through it, make sure we're not missing a step that would make better sense for the town, or make sure we're on sound footing in our movements, our actions. I think we are.
Andy, have you looked at the town purchasing policy? I thought we recommend, but it has to go to the Board of Selectmen for final approval on the new on the policy that was updated.
I don't have it in front of me.
I was just reading that the other day.
I was not reading it the other day, so
Yeah.
I
So
appreciate you
think we
sharing
need
that
to
information.
Look at that. How I interpreted it was that we recommend, but it has to go to the Board of Selectmen for final approval. Because it's over X dollars.
So just
But
like,
then-
when we put trucks out to bid, Jason will come forward, he gets the bids, open them up, and then he brings the final recommendation to the board, and the board makes the final.
And for the folks who can't hear, Naomi was saying that, it's okay, the, DPW director would accept the bids on a truck project and then come forward to the selectmen with the recommendation. The only caveat I think there might be on that is, I think probably after that acceptance, it would return to the Conservation Commission as authorized agents through town meeting to expend from the town forest account. Or if we went conservation fund, maybe that's what we did on this one too.
So this is, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, this is conservation fund, isn't it?
Right, so for clarity here, I'd propose something completely different here, and this is conservation, so legally we're the agents to expend. So what I would do is make a motion tonight that we accept Always Wrecking for $17,971 to do the demolition and the asbestos abatement contingent upon the requirements in the statement of work that include insurance, favorable reference check, and
Licensing?
License.
there's a licensing and certification, so compliance with state law, and that we recommend, and also contingent on the Board of Selectmen's approval for compliance with the state, with the town purchasing policy. So that way we can just go, it's. So I think just, and we leave that to Mike, like, if that stuff's good, just pull the trigger. That's,
Right, but we wouldn't
I wouldn't award it.
award or announce that until
Board of Selectmen.
it passes through selectmen meeting.
right, we should. vote
And
on
we
that
should
agenda.
take that forward as a, what's the term, a, department head sort of request to be on the agenda. So I guess what I'm saying is we need to present that, not just dump it on the selectmen for consideration, but attend the selectmen meeting so that we can be sure to answer questions and handle the back and forth.
Right, but if we second the motion, vote on, it's a done deal from the Conservation Commission meeting perspective, because it just gets to go forward.
That is helpful and only helpful, that's not at all harmful, so. All right. Just for recording purposes, Steve. There are a number of things after 17,971 that I didn't write down, so let's just go through that motion again.
So we're making a motion to expend $17,971 from the conservation account to contract with Always Wrecking to conduct the asbestos abatement and demolition of the structures at the Barden lot, contingent upon Mike getting a favorable reference check, comma, caught up with that, then appropriate certification or licensing, appropriate level of insurance, and approval by the Board of Selectmen for compliance with the town purchasing policy. And motion would authorize you to sign the contract, or the Board of Selectmen, whichever one, we don't care.
All the criteria is met.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's pretty solid like that.
That last bit, authorization,
For either the chair or the Board of Selectmen to sign the contract when all do have 60-day issue,
60.
so there's a kind of.
60 days from
All
this
right.
motion being.
Steve made the motion, do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
Just give me 30 seconds. I'm just running through all the requirements to make sure we covered it all. I think we did,
Yep.
but.
You can initiate the reference checks now, though.
it's
Yeah, the intent would be to get that done before talking with this, before having a,
Does DES permit too?
Said either, no, they get the permit afterwards, once they're under contract. That's gonna have a cost to them.
So we're good there. I didn't catch anything else. We needed to do.
all right. Any other thoughts on the matter? There being none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? All in favor. Thank you.
That feels good getting that moved along, huh?
So I'll need those to scan them and get them to the board.
Yeah, so let's return, and your report to, return that to you, unless you don't want it.
Is this gonna be available to view somewhere?
Meaning-
I just need to scan it to the board.
Okay, I just wanted to write down some contact info.
Okay. I'll see what you can. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
And just for the record, I don't think we've mentioned this, a dollar amount, second place, so to speak, would be Spear Brothers at $29,600. Third would be Alpine Environmental at $31,795. And then fourth is Triple at $46,512 with deficiencies. But, wow, Spear and Alpine are right close together. So the point being, if we find something not lining up with Always, our next in line would be Spear, looks like.
It's item 10 in the policy about Board of Selectmen.
Glad you're here, Mark. Item number 10. Let the selectmen have a say, for sure. Naomi, what would the convention be for notifications at this point? We had a bid opening,
You've announced them on TV anyway.
we've announced them.
So you just are doing your due diligence to award it. I mean, they can have the numbers, but officially you haven't awarded it yet.
Right. But we have no further duty until we have it awarded to, either by statute or convention or town tradition to talk to any of the bidders just yet.
Well, they could have been here tonight and listened to everybody's
They could have.
numbers, so that's available to the public.
Yep.
And by the fact you still gotta do 4 or 5 things,
Due diligence.
it's not been awarded yet.
It has not been awarded, yes. Okay. So I think we're set with that item, correct?
You have 60 days from tonight though, good one.
And hopefully we don't need much of that, so. Will you, Naomi, be providing copy of that information back to the Conservation Commission too for,
Yeah, I mean, when I scan it all in, I can send it to the board and copy you guys.
great, that'd be great, perfect. Anything other, Dave, from your thoughts on board position?
Nothing yet.
Okay. And I apologize for the misspeak earlier. Let's just be clear, this is something that we're working on funding. We have funding in the Conservation Fund to do this, not the town forest account. So that's part of the strength of having a conservation fund.
The town forest would need town approval, correct? Is that?
Which comes at town meeting, so we have the allowance approval, but we're not directing any of this. This would actually wipe out way too much of that, so. And for the type of work, it is perfectly suited or appropriate to use conservation funds. Great. Now we move over, still in land management, on to the harvest work at Felch Farm. We have some document updates from Jeremy and Meadows End Consulting. And we also have a opportunity to leverage that harvest work as a learning opportunity for high schoolers through a program that the New Hampshire Timberlands Owners Association is doing. So I would like Steve to hand off the forestry service agreement aspect of this to let you try to get our paperwork in order to address both the ongoing harvest as well as other town forest agreement or forestry services agreement that Jeremy has shared with us.
So this is the existing forestry services agreement for the timber harvest at Felch that we've already been involved with, already marked, already underway. It's just an extension till 31 December 2024. And I don't think anything got changed here. That's all that's changed. Would have been helpful to have the old one in front of us. Was my understanding, though. Is that your understanding?
Was there any expansion through the area of treatment based on Jeremy's cruising post-winter of 23, 24? Or is it just to extend the deadline, so to speak?
Yeah, I honestly don't know.
Would anybody like to look at the papers at hand?
So you said moving forward, medicine's $100 an hour. That one is not. That's this one.
I think that email came in last week, and
Yeah, I mean, I just saw that one, but I don't. Updated FSA. The one on record just expired 3/31. It attaches the date amend for FSA. That's the only change.
Yep.
As far as I know on that one. and I just responded that should be done at the meeting we're doing. Oh, so then we've also got, there was a fair amount of timber damage from the snow and windstorm there. Which the timber damage is on the east slope closest to the transfer station. Guessing there was an upwards of 4,000 to 6,000 board feet will be salvaging.
So that's just a heads up that there is some additional salvage that he was going to mark out for this.
It's pretty inconsequential. That's like basically a truckload.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all that one there is. This one is their new standard fee. So they went up from, their hourly went from 70 to 100 an hour. So this is, projects, include necessary time to attend management matters, including town forest needs. Motions involved but not limited to trail projects, Eastman pollinator projects, tree farm, enrollment compliance, boundary matters, correspondence to abutters bid projects, subcontraction, road repair, in-person or virtual meetings, where CC meeting and prep time, where CC easement compliance projects, post monitor, etc. So that's the hourly, and that would be in effect until December 31st, 2024.
So there are two of them, one hourly for the town forest account and one hourly for the conservation fund. Is that what I'm seeing there?
Yeah, and we agreed with the selectmen that we weren't gonna do anything new until we do this updated competition. So,
Right.
Steve, did we not sign till the end of 2024, a one-year agreement with him?
I'm trying to dig through that.
Yes, we
Yeah, it
did.
was a
We
1
did.
year.
So why are we raising
Yeah,
after we've already contracted for, till the end of 2024?
yeah.
I haven't really paid any attention to this until just now. Kind of sidetracked a lot of other stuff.
Because that one here reads basically what the contract was.
The other one's fine, there's no change.
Right, no, that's
Yeah,
what we agreed to.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing in the middle of the year, I have no idea.
Yeah.
He's not here to answer that. That's a gigantic increase from a percentage, so.
He said the previous version of the hourly expired at the end of last year.
But did we not do a one-year,
It was,
yeah, at the end of the,
the
Right.
selectmen, I
because it was
think, did
expiring, we put a one-year forward,
We did a,
not a 5-year.
right,
Right.
and that was a, I think the distinction is that was a, the overarching contract.
Forest contract,
That's
But
the
it-
agreement.
forester agreement, okay?
These are really so there's that overarching thing, this is the agreement they actually spend money on.
I understand that, but he had what he was charging us in that agreement.
Yeah, let's pull that up,
Yeah.
this is, I'm obviously not prepared for
Yeah.
this at all. This is the first discussion I'm having on it. I mean, there was a quick email, basically punted, said it should be discussed here, and I ignored the rest of it, so good time to
I
discuss.
didn't get any of that.
Yeah, he just shot it. Sent it to me and Andy, and I said it should be discussed here, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
So that's why I got it here. So that way there's no meeting and there's no decision or anything, inappropriate. So let's try to, got the actual agreement handy? Next sentence.
Yeah, $75 an hour.
It was on the agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just recommend not acting on it, just tell them we didn't act on it, cause we already signed $75 an hour.
Right, he signed it as well.
Good point.
It's on page, 2 of your contract.
Sounds good. That's my recommendation. Don't act on it. So I guess our response is, we already signed something for $75 an hour. There's a recompetition coming. Our understanding was this was good for the year, and we didn't approve it.
Yeah, because I have this, it was done in August last year.
Yeah.
And it's $75 licensed professional, 55 hour for assistant license, and $30 for a forest technician.
What's the period of, when does it end?
But that didn't get approved until later in the year, right?
Right, but this was the,
Yeah.
But Naomi, you have the approved signed one, right? When
What-
does that go into
What's the
effect?
date on that, Naomi?
December, it goes from December, the dated was December 18th,
Yeah.
2023, and it expires
December 18th, 2023,
December 31st, 2024.
expiring the end of
Yeah, perfect.
2024.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, we definitely would not do that right now.
I think it makes us aware that their baseline numbers have,
Yeah, I mean, everybody's maybe, what, you know,
yeah, I know. I see it at the state all the time,
yeah.
and it's, unless it's contract work, those labor rates are going up and up and up and up.
So I'm gonna motion that we, sign the updated FSA, or that Andy signs the updated FSA for the
Felt charges.
Felch harvest that extends the performance period to the end of 2024.
second that motion.
All right, Steve's made motion, Mark seconded, that the chair is authorized to sign the date amended forestry services agreement for the Felch Farm Forest Harvest.
And then if it goes, this will be, project will be ending in the summer,
Which one?
Phil's
Felch
Farm.
Farm.
Period.
No,
It goes till the end of the
End
year.
of December,
I know, but then what happens then?
it should be completed.
What they've done?
You mean if it's not complete?
Yeah,
They'd have
You
to
probably just ask for another extension.
extension.
okay.
But that, they're getting paid off the rates that are already set. That's not changing.
Okay,
That's nothing to do with the
that's
hourly.
where it's coming from.
Yeah, nothing to do with the hourly. The hourly is when, you know, ask them to do some miscellaneous activity, or they come in and give a
Yeah, and they've
report.
already,
Yeah.
All right, motion made, seconded. Any further comment, discussion? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all in favor? All right, I will. Feel comfortable scanning that, Steve, and sending it to Jeremy and copying Beth on it?
Yeah, sure.
And I'll get back to Jeremy on the hourly FSAs with our commentary on the labor rates.
So what's Beth got to do? Oh, I guess this does go to her, yeah.
This one's a little different, because we probably don't bill anything to her, so maybe we don't.
I mean, the revenue's gonna go to her, anyhow.
It's,
So, probably not bad for awareness.
yep. All right. We've got our placeholder here next for,
How long you couldn't finish everything in there?
what did we miss? Oh, right. Yep, yep.
Forestry student,
My question would be, are we paying for that? On the hourly? And do we wanna pay for that on the hourly?
I don't think we are.
we didn't request that they do it, they asked.
My first thought would be,
I wanna be clear on that.
Yeah,
Sure, go ahead if we're not paying for it, or vote to pay for it.
What's this kid gonna do?
No, it's a field day for kids interested in forestry.
Oh, a little field day, okay.
Yeah,
their main event is a tour of a working mill, I believe in Hopkinton. And then their Timberline Owners Association is trying to tag on an active harvest so that the students also see where the timber comes from. And how
Where
it's
it's how
brought
it's
out of
cut,
the woods.
processed, yeah.
So being right close to Hopkinton, it would be a relatively easy jog over to add that, a pretty significant element to the educational opportunity. And in the discussion I had with Jeremy, and the emails I received, I haven't seen any mention of, and we will need to bill hours for our involvement. So, and we also have a question from Janice as to what the organization's doing for liability coverage, permission slips, or what have you for the attendees. And a reminder that if any of us were volunteering to help out with the event, that we would need to first secure a background check for town policy on volunteers who may be working with youngsters or minors. And I do not believe, I certainly wasn't volunteering anyone from our group to need to be, or possibly being part of the guided tour.
You might wanna think about having those kids sign a waiver, so if they're out in the woods and they fall and break an ankle or something, or an arm, that they're not coming back on the town.
yeah, I think permission slips are pretty standard nowadays, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just,
That's what Janice was asking about.
Right.
oh,
So we would want to be comfortable with that was being covered by New Hampshire Timberland Owners Association. And if we have I guess if it's a will of this commission to support the request, it probably makes sense to have another discussion with the selectmen to finalize the town's approval, as this is not a typical forest management activity. So, if somebody wants to make a motion on that, then we could add to it, subject to Board of Selectmen agreement and provisions, adequate liability protection agreements.
When is this field day? Is it on this-
23rd,
Okay.
so it's coming right up. I don't know whether they have a fallback option if it doesn't work with us.
Is it through the school?
It's definitely school-age kids. I don't know whether whether it's a specific tech program or.
going on a trip to Hopkinton?
Well, I mean, in my estimation, the mills are usually more dangerous than the woods. So I would expect it to be covered, but I don't know. We need to ask the question and provide that information, I think, to the selectmen.
Who asked us for this?
Jeremy did. He's, I think, as a New Hampshire Timberland Owners Association member, or maybe even officer, I'm not sure. He was aware of this and thought of this harvest as potentially a really good fit.
They're gonna be in there cutting by that time, or they're just about timber cruising?
No, they're getting set up this week,
Okay.
so it'll be well underway and conditions are good for
As
extraction.
you just said, we're forest management, this is kinda out of our purview. I think we should just refer it to the selectmen and let the selectmen decide whether they want to take on that potential liability.
Potentially, but if we were to go that route, I think it would be remiss to not
Okay.
forward it with a recommendation.
Right.
Because I think I think that would
I
be
don't
very
know.
meaningful to the selectmen.
Don't know enough about it to make any recommendations. We don't have any information on it. We don't have the
We've done similar before, but not as part of or attached to a schooling program, but we've had sort of demo days in the field with adults, but potentially kids too, I suppose. We've never, in the past, I think Jeremy's done sort of community building, trying to build understanding, and had maybe a couple of those over years we've been dealing with them at least.
I have no trouble with, but we just need to have the outline of the program.
I got it right here, I just found it. You wanna read it?
Yeah.
Please.
So this is like something that was forwarded, it's from Sherry Birch at New Hampshire TOA, and, hi Jeremy, it's great to meet you today. I think Ware Town Forest would be a perfect place for the students to experience and learn about the town's sustainably managed forests and timber harvesting operations, which help to maintain and improve the health and growth of the forest, as outlined in the Forest Management Plan. To help clarify what this event is all about, I have pasted 2 documents below. The first one is a letter sent out to our prior sponsors, exhibitors, and volunteers. The second one is an invitation to schools to sign up students. Thank you so much. And got, let's see, all right, then, this is January 18th, letter that must have been what she pasted on there. Thank you for your past participation and support for the Forest Career Field Days held in 2022 and 2023. This year, we have taken a slightly different approach as we introduce Forest Career Field trips led by the New Hampshire Timberland Owners Association, UNH Cooperative Extension, and the UNH Thompson School of Applied Science. These field trips will provide grade 7 and 8 and high school students an opportunity to see an active timber harvest operation and an operating wood processing facility. Students will observe the latest science and technology for land management and wood processing while learning about careers in natural resources management, conservation, and the forest products industry. Moreover, they will see all of this in their own region of the state. New Hampshire Forest Career Field Trips will occur in years opposite the full New Hampshire Forest Career Field Day, which will now be held every other year. These all-day field trips will be occurring on May 21st north and May 23rd south. The mills of students will tour HHP Inc. and Britain Lumber, and the accompanying timber harvest forestry projects will be within 30 minutes of these mills. Attaches a draft timetable of the tours. First stop, the students will receive a copy of the field trip program and personal protective equipment, hard hat, ear and eye protection, and a small field trip backpack. Field trip program will highlight our sponsor logos and advertisements, contain a categorized job description section, and list all tour guides, facilities visited, and sponsor list and contact information. Workforce development and the education of our youth and their teachers remain a top priority for the NHTOA, but we can't do this alone. If you are interested in volunteering for this event in some way, please let us know of your interest. If you would like to support the event as a sponsor, please fill out the attached sponsor form. Please don't hesitate to call or email us with any questions you may have. That's from Sherry Birch and Sherry Birch. Yeah, and then it says Jason Stock underneath. And this got forwarded along to Andy on May 1st, so yeah, kind of relatively short notice, but.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, did we know 2 months ago that the harvest would be underway? No.
My only question, we talked about liability or whatever, is we've hosted that through the shop, and the school provides insurance. There's a binder for any of the students that are on the property, and the school provides that. So we just need to verify that's the case, and we should be fine.
That's TOA that's doing this though, not the school.
Right, but they're students, so the students going, the school provides the insurance for the students.
So, I wonder if they really are dismissed and they're out of the school's
Yeah, that's-
purview?
yeah.
And they're with TOA, so it'd be TOA's insurance, or UNH Cooperative Extension, or, who's the third one? Somebody else.
Thompson?
Yeah, T-School says UNH. So, yeah, I mean, if those kids are dismissed, excuse absence,
Yeah.
and they're just on that, which they
possible.
probably are.
Yeah.
I have no idea. That's kind of, I mean, Jeff probably just didn't, these questions probably didn't run through his head.
Well, you can always call that Sherry Birch and find out for sure who's covering the insurance. She must know, she's setting these programs up. I would think.
I have no idea what the selectmen or anybody else or what the policy is, and then you get that other policy about reference checks when you're around kids, so does that apply to those people?
I mean, I used to do chaperoning at school, and I had to go and have a full-blown reference check over in Concord at the state police barracks.
Yeah, through town employees and volunteers, I'm sure,
Yeah.
got another organization, I'm sure they have their own.
And I think, and that was a few years ago, I think I paid $85 for that background check.
Yeah.
So,
We do it just as part of state employment.
Hmm?
We do it to work for the state.
yeah.
Pretty sure that's what it was for.
Do we have a standard release form?
What's that?
Do we have a standard release form?
We don't have a standard one, we've gone, the last two went to the state for $21 and
No, I'm sorry, for liability release.
I don't have one, I probably could call and see if there's a standard one. I don't. It's not in my documents.
That would be an expectation. We're not gonna foot the liability on it, for sure.
Funny, interesting, semi-related story that I was just going through with an attorney. Apparently, liability releases signed on the behalf of a minor are frowned upon. That was the word we got on a different thing. It was just like, nope, no go. It was a special place that might have unexploded ordnance.
Been there.
Yeah, that was like.
As a kid.
Yeah, so it's we gotta get organized by Monday, because,
You can get much time.
yeah, the 23rd's a week after.
Anybody take lead on this one? I am out of town for graduation Friday and Monday. So my ability to devote attention, tracking it down is pretty minimal.
I would honestly say there's way too much here to run down in that short
In
span
a
of
short
time.
span. Yeah.
Some of the stuff is almost like Laura type questions, you know?
Can we send it to the Board of Selectmen and see if they have an opinion on it? We would say we recommend if it's a go for insurance and liability. We felt it was out of our expertise to determine that.
They're not gonna know unless they call or make some phone calls.
We'll be in the same situation, so.
I think sometimes it's just time to say no. It's just not enough time to work on it, you know?
I agree with that. There's too many
Too many
unanswered questions.
Yeah.
I think if they wanna do it in future years, but I mean, everything, I can see where it's coming from. Everything's gotta line up, like having a harvest going
Yeah.
close to where they wanna go, but that's, takes some work on it.
It wouldn't hurt to make a phone call to Jeremy and just find out where that's at,
Maybe,
who's taking care of all this,
maybe he knows.
Think here what?
Whether
the
they,
liability for all these kids.
Yeah, nobody's taking kids into
into a,
Into the mill or anything else, there's gotta be,
providing them with PPE and
yeah.
not having that covered. So the question is, would it extend? So, being no volunteers, I will get back to Jeremy on it and,
I mean, if you want, I can call Jeremy probably tomorrow, and if he's available, and just see what he has to say, and then I'll just send out an email to everybody, and,
We can't operate by email, though. That's our
Oh,
problem. So we have to
okay.
make a decision right now. That's why I'm saying
Yeah.
there's not a lot of time
No.
here, you know? So I mean, we could say we recommend it to the Board of Selectmen and leave it in their laps, which isn't like super fair either.
They get the same answer on Mondays,
yeah.
we're
right.
talking about now.
Well, you can make the decision tonight to do it as long as the kids are fully insured after you call Jeremy. If they're not insured, then we're not in support.
We got a pretty full agenda Monday, too.
And I think it's almost a pass.
Yeah, because I mean, I think like the bigger problem is we don't know, so is that there a permission slip signed? Is that something Laura is comfortable with? Because she's, the advisor
Yeah.
on things like that, right?
Mm.
Then you gotta build in, all right, if the Board of Selectmen wants to hand it to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. We can just write back to Jeremy. Sorry, it sounds like
Question
that.
should've came in.
Should have been here a couple months ago, so you got some time to look into it.
That's the frustrating thing about our structure, not that I wanna meet more, but we meet once a month, so it's like, it's hard to do stuff
Yeah.
quickly.
I mean, when did that notice come out? When did you receive it, Steve?
I mean, he sent it to us May first, like I said.
that'd be a week ago.
Yeah, I mean, so there's,
I mean, we've only had it, a week, yeah.
let's see, but then, yeah, that Sherry Birch emailed Jeremy on May first, so he sent it right along. So they must, who knows when they talked, but it looks like it was right around then.
All right, that sounds like a conclusion, no go. Opportunity not quite enough time to
Just don't have enough time to
actualize.
work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause you don't wanna give them the promise of the availability of it, and then you hear back from
Well, it's-
legal and they say, no, this is not.
This is our May meeting, it's gonna happen before our June meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I will add that to the list of other things I need to let Jeremy know, so I'll do that. Okay, moving on. I don't have anything new on situation, standing, status, what have you, with the Bank Schmidt contention or decision or path forward. I will ask you, Dave, if we have anything new?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Nothing. The special accommodation request and went really well, so congratulations to the engaged, and great to have a conservation property appreciated. There was very minimal trail clearing work done. I unlocked things, they got in, they got out, relocked things. I will need to go back out there to put on a new lock, because the old lock, although it came off easily, would not reclasp. And in trying to convince it that it wanted to work, it decided it didn't want to work at all, so. So I have a temporary lock on it, and I'll get a new one to put on it shortly. But thank you, everybody, for making that short deadline thing work out. All right, now we have the Eastman Conservation Area Town Forest. Driveway apron, so that's where the driveway and Concord Stage come together, drainage work invoices. And this is something that I've been a little bit corresponding. I think everybody saw what I sent out to Beth after last meeting. And it looks like we've got some work we need to do to get our invoicing up to par for town purposes, clarity, conformance. So this is a one-off rarity that needs some more work on packaging the invoices. So what we need to do is get the invoices updated so that they are clear where the work was undertaken, and so that the three would show up as a common client. I think we ought to have Sherry construct, or have her logger construct an invoice that spells out where the work was done very clearly, the amounts of materials and the vendor that provided those materials, add them up in an invoice and say, here's an invoice from the second party in the access agreement undertaking, with the backup of the invoices behind it, so that we can present that and have that be a clear part of our town records, that each entity was working on the same thing. Now, fundamentally, I think we've got some confusion between the initial access agreement, which was written up by Sherry's Forester and agreed to by the town, and what that covered. And if you go into that document and look at the supporting plans, clearly the culvert work that was anticipated as part of that document was north of the gate off the log landing. There was no anticipation in that agreement of doing culvert work by the road. And I did look at did note with the logger before any work started that the culvert closest to the road, the Concord Stage Road proximal driveway culvert had failed. It was full and not functioning. Didn't seem a big deal at the time because we weren't under crazy winter flood and, you know, a lot of runoff conditions. So what changed between that September and the, I don't know, does anybody remember which, was it 2 meetings ago, or was it January that we approved the motion for up to 1,500 in a cost share materials funding? It wasn't our last meeting, I think.
Must have been January or
I think it was in March. We talked about it earlier, I think we formalized by approved motion in March. And then that work was completed very quickly. So, I think we need to be clear that it was a separate issue and that it was undertaken, authorized by this commission for a purpose in serving creating some work that was not part of the initial agreement. So that's a fundamental distinction that I want us to be clear on, and if somebody's not clear on that, we ought to discuss it out here and set the record straight.
Andy, can I say something or no?
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to, it originally, I guess, started between Andy and myself. And we talked about clarity. The bills came forward, a lot of time had passed, and I think, as Andy and I swapped an email, that I think record keeping is important. If you don't think we're being watched,
Well, we know we have.
you've got another thing
Yes,
coming.
Yeah, exactly, if somebody
I'm
does
just
not
gonna-
realize that.
I'm just going to tell you where I came from was, you all know there was a right to renewal request about me and my employment contract. So to
Yeah,
see,
We were aware of that back
Exactly,
last
but
winter. We did not
it
know.
brings that one more thing to light, that when the bills come in and they are not to the town aware, there's not a canceled check. It was not a location of where material was delivered. One invoice was for cash with the logger's name on it and shipped to Sherry, doesn't even give you a location. One invoice, well, on the Country Three Corners, just 1 second. So Andy's correct. We went back in September when Dalton came, and in that report showed where there was going to be some culvert work, very evident. Hang on.
I just
But it
wanna make
was
a quick
further up.
suggestion.
Yeah?
I think Sherry might want to consider recusing if,
Oh, it's open. It's not a personal thing.
Okay.
It's just, it's nothing personal.
no, I get
It's
that. I
record
just-
keeping.
If she's going to respond, I just want her on that side, you know what I'm saying?
Nope.
That'd be my
That's
suggestion.
No, it's a,
Sherry's choice.
it's an open discussion for the mere fact that I think where things came from, and Andy was right, is the documentation showed culvert and stone to be installed further down, okay? Time passed from September on. March rolls around and we get 3 invoices, of which the discussion at that time, or the swap in the email from Andy and I, was the fact that there was an agreement made with the commission and Sherry. But what was the agreement? Because we saw in September a report signed by you with plans of a culvert and some stone to be installed. in September. We roll forward to March, and now we get invoices, and the invoices, one is Country 3, it says sold to cash, it has the logger's name as a reference, and it ships to, and it has her name. Nowhere here it tells you what you bought, a 20-foot, 12-inch culvert, double-walled. Totally understand, obviously. Then the next invoice was to a trucking company here in town, again invoiced to Sherry, no location of where 2 loads of crushed 1-inch was dropped and 1 load of ditching material. Nothing indicated where it was located. Then the third one did come from another contractor, said where it was dropped and how much he delivered. Very proper. But the problem I have is, as I'm being under the watch, as you know, with a right to know request, and I said to you in the email, it's not going to be my watch that these get approved by, because the auditor will have a picnic. Because there is no, and I thank you for expressing that we have to be better at it, because if that happened up the street and she's paid for all that, I don't have a problem with it, but there's a gap in time, there's a gap in some description. So I think tightening the gap, you know, and the curb for the new driveway permit, you went through that permit, you got a permit, there requires 12-inch culvert, 12-inch double walled. You can pull the lines together, but it's not written where it was. And then, according to the driveway standards at the state, there's supposed to be 8 inches of crushed gravel over that culvert, and I don't believe there's 8 inches. That's just a personal opinion. I'm not a road builder. So there's a lot of imperfections along the way, but I'm just here to state, to save my butt, because I'm being as watched like everybody else, that, as I indicated, at the end of the day, if the board and you guys decide to pay these invoices, I want it well known that it's not, I'm not in favor of it the way they're currently crafted, and the auditors will certainly have a field day with us, and that's not what I want. That's all, I mean, I just want it for public record because I was subject to, I'm probably still being watched, doesn't matter, because I can sleep at night, but I can't rightfully ask these to be paid the fashion that they're sitting in right now without further explanation. So that's where our exchange came from. And as I said, I respectfully disagreed on some of our conversation, but I'm not going to take any blame if we get written up and these get paid. It's not my watch. At the end of the day, you guys can overrule me, selectmen can overrule me, that's fine. I just wanted to know that I don't think it's proper without further documentation, and I appreciate you adding that.
Thank you. Would you just hang in there a bit?
Yeah, of
Well,
course.
Steve, go ahead. You had some
No, I just,
offering.
I mean, I don't disagree with a lot of that. I think that can be remedied by a different, just having an itemized statement maybe through the logger instead of, you know, just consolidated. Because we did, you know, we authorized, as Andy said, that culvert was crushed. Nobody really thought about it. It had nothing to do with the agreement. We thought it was a pretty good deal as a commission that we voted on, you know, that the heavy equipment was there, so we're essentially getting that work done for free, and we would buy the materials, and I remember doing the motions. I think the actual cost came in under what we motioned. I understand the comment about the amount. I went out there and looked at the culvert and stuff. I mean, it's close as far as the amount that's over, but you gotta keep in mind, you're dealing with a pre-existing condition there that you're just replacing.
I said I'm not a road builder. I'm just saying the state driveway per specifications require 12. God only knows why they do, because the town aware, if you put in a driveway, it's 15-inch.
Yeah. no,
So for the Mother's Day flood that happens every 100 years, every 5 years, that's what the 15-inch culvert versus 12. They're a little outdated. That's
Yeah.
my personal opinion.
Yeah, but so we're kind of matching pre-existing conditions on a, well, you know,
Or
on a
better
drive. Yeah.
than pre-existing.
And
conditions.
so, you know, I think this can be remedied pretty easily, hopefully.
And the other thing, before you, so if there's work being done as a donation, there's a statute 3195, I can't remember the number, I think it's C. We have had to do it, if you're going to have some work done as a donation and it's less than $5,000, the selectmen can accept it. So we don't even know what that value is. So technically, to have the work done and donated to us, There needs to be a value. We just did an Eagle project with a kid at the skateboard park, spent $3,600, and he itemized the bill. We accepted the donation because he did it. So as part of work done on the town property, we don't just slide it under the carpet. We typically have to give an amount, and the selectmen, if it's under $5,000, can just simply make a motion in their minutes. They accept the donation on behalf of whomever for so much value and work, and it can be done very easily, and it should be done. Again, record keeping.
Understand that, but you could look at that in two ways. It's not totally a donation, and we just, we had the work done at the cost of the materials. In the end, we are accepting an installed culvert.
But you get a benefit of, right?
I mean, we paid, this, yeah, you get to replace culvert. So I don't know, that's a good question.
We're splitting hairs, right? And I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a
We
lawyer.
paid something
Yeah.
for it. right?
I'm just saying that the days of doing things, I think we have to be open, we have to be upfront, we have to be transparent. You guys don't want to sit through any personal attack on yourself on a right-to-know request I've been subject to the last few months. It's still not over. I just had to say what I have to say personally.
As the guy that did the motion, I mean, we were transparent
Yeah.
upfront. There was nothing hidden from anybody.
Mhm.
If
But
I
there was a
could-
gap in time, and there was a gap in location. She was gonna pay for, which totally said it was gonna happen. It appeared in two different locations. Documentation is important.
No, we voted on the second location here. That was totally separate from the.
But the
first.
receipts don't say that.
Right, so we just need to fix that. That's an administrative problem we can fix. That's what I'm saying. I think that can be fixed, can be stated
Yeah.
exactly what we're talking
I'm
about.
not here to attack anybody. I'm here to clean up the record because I don't want the audit to breathe down our neck. I don't think the selectmen do either.
I think the attached sort of specter is not even, it has nothing to do with these three invoices. I think these three invoices kind of became a catalyst to put out some other concerns. And I think it's very important that, based on some commentary at the Board of Selectmen that Jack Meany shared, and some of the thoughts that you shared, that we understand that this agreement for access via an existing woods road to an abutter's land, in Sherry's land, is very different, very distinct. It's almost 100% unrelated to the appeal that was made to us by Hopkinton Forestry and Lands, or Hopkinton, whatever, the Herricks, over on Barden. And I don't want there to be any confusion offered in equating those two. And that's something that I can't speak to, but I think we need to try to clear up that record. It's a concern that you shared with us.
I have, I mean,
It's
right,
a
because
concern that others shared
as
with us.
I shared with you in there too, I stand behind what the board does, and I've been burnt before. I've stood behind everybody and supported everybody, kept fires out. I get called all but a moron in my office because I supported something that I was not aware of an email that occurred after. That's nothing to do with you. At the same time, I continually get asked about, well, what's going on? I put in, an RSA. The town has to supply me with this landlocked piece. That's why I keep bringing it up, because it doesn't go away.
So I'd like to step down myself.
Yeah.
And I just,
Yeah, no, it's nothing
rest your
personal.
legs.
Yeah, no, it's nothing personal.
think-
I don't want
I
it to
think
be
Steve-
personal. I'm just telling you, my heart and soul is into this town, has been for 30 years. I give 150% a day, a night, a weekend. I don't sit here at night because I don't care. But after being a personal attack on a right-to-know request and getting holes in invoices that I don't think are right, that's when I brought it to my attention.
I
mean, I do the day-to-day.
100% agreement. Well,
Right, and I run the day-to-day,
Maybe
so
I'm
I hear way more than you guys do,
I'm
because
slow
I
at
shed
picking
it
up
from
some
you.
things.
Yeah,
Slow at picking up on some things, and
Yeah.
that's my bad. I'm trying to learn and come around. So I think we can, we can repackage what I said before, which I think are very well justified expenses, in a way that is much more clear and much better, and we will do that.
Yeah.
And my, you know, my bad for not picking up on that better or quicker, but I think it's very important that, you know, we use the time we have here in public meeting to be clear about our understanding, perspective, experience with the request that was brought to us on the Barden property. And I'd like to step down and hand,
Yeah.
Commissioner
And I get it. I mean,
Overton
we're,
on that.
we're all on that, but I get phone calls wondering what's gonna happen, how come this got this and how come that got that, and it's just, you know, it's all fairness, everybody has to be fair. I get all the comments of, well, it depends on who you are as to what you get, and that's not true. I try to express that it's not true, but again, it all stems it doesn't, to me, didn't sit well with the whole, how things were done, and I couldn't pass that through to finance for the auditors in the fashion they were written. That's my concern.
Andy, do you wanna finish up the Eastman?
So he's, can you continue the discussion on this? And he's stepping down for a second, to just, because what got intertwined with Eastman was the Barden access.
Okay, so you're stepping down for that part of it.
So at 9:35, Andy stepped down as chair, and I'm taking over. And, yeah, just want to clarify, so I ran the meeting that Hopkinton Forestry and Land Clearing came to us about accessing the Clement lot through the Barden property. And so just to recap, you know, they came in as, you know, a logging company, didn't have a licensed forest, with them just, you know, representing the landowner is our understanding, and talking to us about access. The proposal, as I gathered at the time, was to go through the Barden lot, use our gravel to build a road with a rather large wetland crossing across a big stream that's about halfway in the lot to access the Clement. And then they had also mentioned something about offering to knock down the buildings for us as part of the deal. So during the discussion, I want everyone, because there's comparisons between these different access agreements. Every access agreement to date has been on an area that already had infrastructure, landing, skid trails. Every one of them had a licensed forester involved. So just kind of keep that in mind. I think there's some confusion. There was nothing special that we asked of them compared to anyone else. During the course of the discussion, we talked about having a site walk when the snow was gone, and offered to do that. Also said that, you know, we expected to have a licensed forester involved. I think that was part of our discussion, and that was very consistent with everything we do related to forestry. We don't just deal with loggers. And, you know, in New Hampshire, I mean, that's an important thing. A licensed forester means something. It's, you know, there are credentials that are required, there's experience, so that's why we asked for that. There's been reference to the RSA about landlocked property, but if you remember, during the course of the discussion, one of the loggers, I forget his name, you have to excuse me, mentioned that there was a right-of-way to the property. So that means it's not landlocked, that the right-of-way was underwater. So also suggested to him that they needed to figure that out. And then as someone who has a right, you know, if it's submerged by beaver in New Hampshire, you know, you're allowed to deal with that. There's no special permitting. I think I might have suggested contacting Wildlife Services because they're experts at removing problem wildlife. So they never came back and said, actually, we don't have a right-of-way. We are landlocked. They said, we're landlocked. So they haven't come back, haven't asked for the site walk now that the snow's gone. You know, the other concern, so me sitting here chairing a meeting, right, I can't give away like thousands of dollars worth of the town's gravel, cause an alteration of terrain permit, cause the land to be, you know, none of us can do that, right? You know, that has to go to the board. I mean, there would be huge changes in there as part of that. And Ricky was here, he was the chair of the Board of Selectmen, and thought it was unlikely that we would give away town gravel, that they'd have to supply their own gravel. So when you add up the big calculus of this, huge project, involves town resources that they're asking for free, maybe a little trade-off, which ended up being $17,000 to knock down, no, not even, I mean, so that bid, say 5 of that was for abatement, so you'd have to still abate a building to knock it down, so yeah, that's maybe 12 grand, something like that. They could have saved there, but what would it have really cost us for, losing all that gravel, having an alteration of terrain permit, potential liability with erosion, pounding a big road through the middle of a very big stream, and I'm happy to walk down there with anybody that wants to see the magnitude of the stream and the slope behind it, and then all the rock walls in there. So I just want to really make it clear, nobody here said no to them at all. So I mean, they come back and they can schedule a site walk and we can go over that, but very consistent with every other similar request. And this one was way over the top compared to the other ones just because there's no infrastructure there. So, yeah, just wanted to clear that up. I don't know if anybody has any questions, and it's all cool. I'm good with it. And, my background's forestry. I love forestry. Told them that was my background, I think, and I don't think I'm missing anything. I just want to be real clear. I mean, I don't think we did anything bad to the town. We didn't blow an opportunity for anything. We just are trying to be good stewards of town land.
Yep, I think that's a good recap.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that is a significant stream, that's not the little, you'd want a professional looking at that, that's.
Huge crossing.
And they were gonna widen up the road, there was trees that would be taken out, if I recall.
Yep.
Stone
Yeah.
walls going down.
Yeah.
It's a really big deal with a lot of planning, and, people would have to decide if that's what they'd like to see. It's gonna change it quite a bit if we ever did that. And I just wanna really say, we never said no, and we never heard back about the right-of-way, because that makes a very big difference whether it is actually landlocked or not. Because I think, they mentioned that they need to get someone to look at their deeds to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
So I think we were just helpful, in everything that was suggested.
It was helpful that you reiterated that, so
Thanks, I mean-
I don't have to do it again on a phone call.
Yeah, I have no malice towards them at all. We're all in forestry.
Doing what I did, I just,
Huh.
and I explained where I came from.
Yeah, and, I can't sit here and horse trade, nor can this commission for town gravel, right? So it wasn't that easy of a deal that maybe someone thought it was. So, I don't know, I'm just trying to do the right thing. If someone can do better, great. I guess that's all I got.
It's good.
So, wait for Andy to get back. All right, at 9:43, we'll recognize Andy as the chair again.
Thank you, Steve. Just because I don't have notes on it, Steve, what was the time of my exit?
Is that it? publicly, but.
35?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and Mike, you said we had some, do we have some more to cover on the Eastman?
Just to, I guess not, I was just gonna say, make it clear that we're gonna reach out to get some, more detailed invoice our way for the culvert work,
Yeah,
the end result of that.
yeah, additional information would be provided by the vendors involved to make sure that we've got it clear what was done, especially where it was done to the benefit of the town. And to make it, what we want to do is make it so that Beth can cut one compensation check for the materials that were provided. Doesn't have to be 3 disparate reimbursements that don't explain themselves. So we'll get that in better shape. And I'm sure folks are looking to get paid. The work was just done, just so well done. I mean, I personally, I looked at it, the cover is, without building a huge mound, or, you know, going in and potentially moving boulders, you put a culvert in that's better than the one that was there, that will last, and that's a great benefit to the town. So we got some rough edges to work out and smooth out to make sure everything is more easily transmitted and recorded and decipherable anywhere down in the future. So I think we can do that and do that well. We did, you know, have it covered by a wetlands permit. We did communicate well with DOT and got their, not approval, because the culvert actually went in outside their area of jurisdiction, so they had no official say on the culvert itself, but did have the unofficial comment from their area supervisor, for lack of the proper term, who was very, very well pleased with the work that was done. It was going to definitely make the likelihood that there could be a similar overwash condition the next winter under similar conditions occur. So it's a great improvement, and I think that's the takeaway. And we have room to improve on our presentation. So we always need to keep that in mind. And I don't, on the other hand, want us to be unable to move on something expeditiously that makes good baseline budgeting sense for the town and advances the characteristic, or the condition, I guess is a better word, of our conservation properties, including town forests, for fear of examination. I mean, that's there all the time. Each and every one of us, through our involvement here, has a exposure, and we need to be able to answer the questions, and hopefully people, when they have questions, can bring them to us directly so that we can address the questions and provide answers that not necessarily mollify, but at least have the opportunity to educate and arrive at a better understanding, if not appreciation. And ultimately, I would like there to be greater appreciation within the town, but that's a goal. It's not a requirement. So enough said. Thank you for bearing with me. I think that covers, well, there was one other aspect of the next one, Jack Meany's concerns, complaints expressed to the Board of Selectmen. And I pitch this one over to Steve just to talk a little bit about who was involved and how we came to support the use of measures to control invasive species on town forests.
That was Jack Means comment?
That was one of them. That was one of them, yeah. That we had erred in our approval of and manner of invasive species control with our town forester.
I think that's been a few years, hasn't it?
I think, as Jack put it, he's been auditing Conservation Commission on, that was 5 years ago? Yeah.
No, it was a 5-year request. He got all the
Right, all right.
invoices, all the bank statements, all the approvals. That was his right-to-know request, but it was spanned 5 years.
Jack's request that was handled by Beth was for invoicing that the commission had done over the last 5 years, and this was something that he found that he did not think was appropriate. That people didn't have certifications and that they used stuff that was bad for the environment.
Oh, no. I mean, anybody that's applying herbicide is licensed by the state of New Hampshire. So that was the issue?
That was one of about 5. I don't know, I don't have the Board of Selectmen minutes right in front of me. But that was one.
I have nothing inappropriate about that. I mean, you know, when you're treating invasive species, I mean, everyone's gonna have different ideas about herbicide use, and it's, you know, this integrated pest management, but at some point, there's some things that, you know, the only way you might be able to control them is with something like, you know, glyphosate, Roundup, or Triclop, or what's the, I'm trying to think what the brand name is on that stuff. But, you know, the very limited targeted use of herbicide is a pretty reasonable approach, and it's done routinely by conservation organizations, New Hampshire DOT. Like, DOT has a lot of headaches that they cause with their mowing. We can go up and down 114 right now, you'll notice all the Japanese knotweed that's all sprouting up. And unfortunately, every time that gets fragmented by a mower, it starts new shoots and just keeps spreading, the real problem. So yeah, we've always done,
Unless you're a honeybee and you like it.
but there's native plants that they're, you know, and they're in real trouble too, bumblebees anyhow. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to address, you know, just the generalization would be.
All right, the point I was, I guess, wanting to make was that the folks we had doing that were professionals. They weren't, you know, yahoos out in the woods, you know, with, you know, poisons. They were
Licensed applicators.
licensed applicators. And I guess for the sake of those who might audit us in the future, if we have work like that done again, we can, on invoicing, share that the work was done by a licensed applicator. I would hope that actually those questions wouldn't be brought to the board, they'd be brought to the commission so we can answer them directly. They're brought to the board to be part of the public record, but that doesn't afford the person who has a concern the opportunity to get an answer or to get the concern addressed. So, Jack, if you're listening, please come talk to us about this stuff. It's a public meeting. Ideally, you know, let me know you want to talk about stuff, or if you don't want to let me know, just show up. We handle the public anytime during our meetings.
I have the minutes if you want me to just,
Please,
you want me to read
yeah.
the statement. So he basically went on to say he got some records on expenditures, and those expenditures was spray for invasive plants that they did through the forester. Mr. Meany said when he was on the board, they had to go through hoops to make sure they got the proper permits through the state. He does not see anything brought forth to the town. The BOS should approve the work and make sure the person spraying for the invasives is licensed. Mr. Meany made a verbal 91A request for bills regarding this Burdick's project on Route 77.
Thanks, Dave. So I hope that addresses it. The commission and Conservation Commission and the Board of Selectmen will work out our understanding of how town forest management benefits, or how it is shared between the two entities, and I think our communications are only growing stronger, and having Dave as somebody who's committing extra time, extra volunteer time to share this evening, and all our meeting evenings with us will only help so that the Board of Selectmen and the Conservation Commission can grow an appreciation of what the roles and responsibilities are, and when we need to double check, we can talk to each other about, you know, what an RSA means and who should, be involved. I don't conclude, as Jack does, that it should be the, you know, should only be approvable by the Board of Selectmen. That's just simply my reading of RSA's and, you know, lines of, management, authority, so. Conversely, if the board wants to establish a policy that any, you know, this, that, the other thing comes to the board, then we can load another thing that direction. Ideally,
It's a lot more RSA's.
ideally, the communications cover, aspects like that, and I think we could go back to minutes and say, at this meeting, we discussed with the town forester, you know, how the work would be done, who'd be doing the work, and what accountability they have through their certifications to actually cover invasives. And I think we'd find that in the minutes if we went looking. But in the future, we'll certainly, you know, weigh those concerns as expressed. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, just for the public's benefit, so I think Jack used the word permit in there. Permits, for treating invasives are not required, it's licensure. Now, if you wanna treat within wetlands and water bodies, then there is actually a permit. But for terrestrial applications, there actually is not.
He did say permitted as well.
Yeah, so there wouldn't need to be a permit involved.
I'm sorry, licensing as well.
Yeah, licenses, and you know, there's several different levels of licensing that applicators would be authorized to, you know, to spray.
But, you know, interest in town forest, absolutely, bring it on. Help us make things and do things better. Audit, look at it, question, but, you know, for anybody who's caring to listen, come talk to us about your concerns. That I think is an advisable way forward. Any more on land management? I guess we'll jump over to trails. Where are we at? What can we do to help? What can we think about on trails?
Yeah,
What do we do?
so I had said previously that I felt, I needed to go through the trail at Poor Farm again and do some blazing, make it a little easier to follow before we have any sort of volunteer day. So since getting the supplies a few weeks ago, we did get out there one time to blaze and do some of the chainsaw work. I would generously say that we got 25% of the way. It's pretty slow going.
Heavy slogging, it sounds like.
And blazing, surprisingly, it's a lot of back and forth, standing at this tree, looking at that tree, is that a good tree, is it not? So, I would like to schedule a volunteer day in the next couple weeks. Put a little fire under our butts to get a little farther with that. I don't think the whole thing needs to be done because we're not gonna get through the whole 2 miles in one volunteer day anyway. So, yeah, I was thinking weekend after next, but I'm not sure how that works with posting it or letting people know or whatnot, but I would imagine just putting it on the website and
Yeah, put it on
reaching out to some
the,
folks that I know that have interest.
the old town hall advertisement board there, that's got the yard sale on it, that'd be a good spot to put it.
Okay. Who would I contact?
Yeah, I think that's pretty well booked at the moment.
Okay.
Depends on when you're doing it.
Oh, you're talking about the signboard out front that you can see driving by?
Depends on when you're doing it, cause we've got 2 sides by somebody, then we're sharing a side a couple weekends, and we're sharing another one with the garden club and something else for their stuff, and
Okay, so would maybe more like a month from now?
if you pick a weekend,
Yeah.
Monique does it.
Okay.
So if you put M. Nelson at warenh.gov and ask her what's available, she
Okay.
could maybe work that way with you.
Okay.
And that's when the sign's available, you can.
Right, yeah. But I think that would be,
She has a signed calendar, she has a
Yeah.
town hall calendar.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be in the next couple of weeks. Maybe the black flies will be gone in a month, so.
Hopefully by the end of May,
Yeah,
get a few hot days,
yeah.
cook
It
some.
is getting
Well-
real bad.
It's been.
Yeah, it's awful right now.
I think we've got it in record now, here at meeting that we want it. This is something that we wanna do, and, you know, I'd certainly like to be able to support you on that, and I know folks outside this, meeting room have expressed interest and ability to pitch in. I think we could just leave it at, if you come up with a good day, something that works for your schedule, and can just make that date aware to fellow commissioners and anybody else. I don't know that we need to, you know, do a formal, or the word would be posting of, you know, cleanup activity,
I mean-
or meet again on something like that. You could just let us know when the date is, so that we could let others know when it's good activity to get a few folks doing, and then it becomes something that you can move through right quick, as opposed to one or two people.
Yeah, okay.
We did something like that on cleaning up the Wood Family Forest right after we closed on it. Tom Carr's old dump truck, and we got mattresses and box springs and bits of this, that, and the other thing hauled out in good order. So some of those volunteer activities are highlights of what you can do on a commission or around a commission.
You might even get the Boy Scouts involved to, just to pick up brush and throw it off into the bushes, a lot of times they're looking for stuff.
Okay.
The other thing is the seniors, some of the seniors need so many hours of volunteer work
Community
before they,
service, yeah.
Yeah.
before they graduate,
Someone asked you about that last.
so you might wanna check with the high school.
And it could be a progressive thing. Try one and see what folks think during it.
Yeah,
For,
yeah,
like you
it's
say,
gonna have to
it's
be a little while then.
not gonna be in one
Yeah.
push.
Yeah, that's where that's at.
Great, thank you. Anybody else have a land management? Steve?
Yeah, and the trails, I was able to talk with, what's her email? I just forwarded it all to you, Sylvia from Southern New Hampshire, and, basically, they have a trail, there's a link there to their Regional Trails publication, has a lot of information about, funding opportunities and that sort of thing. And if we want Southern New Hampshire to look at pulling together kind of some mapping and other assistance to, I talked to her about what we had tried to do so far, and then trying to, look at connectivity with Class 5 and Class 6 roads. So they can do that. We need to create a scope of work, and because if we were linking it up with roads, they can use transportation money, so we can get a 50% match. So if it was 30,000, it costs us 15 on conservation, and they'd cover the other 15. But we have to just develop a, kind of a statement of work on what we want, and then, kind of go from there. I mean, at some point, there needs to be some kind of a catalyst to either, get, and maybe what Zuzu's doing here, if the word gets out. I mean, if there are more people interested in really having a lot of trails, then, it'd be useful. It's not really useful just to make plans, So anyhow, I emailed it to everybody, and it's pretty late tonight, so I don't think we're really.
Yeah,
Have
can you
much more.
forward that information?
Yeah,
Just
I
did.
did.
Oh, you just did?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
forward to everybody. And then the scope of work is not relevant to trails, it's just so you can get an idea of the framework of the scope of work.
Mhm.
Great. So, thanks for sending that along, something for us to chew on, and, keep that, maybe I make an agenda spot for that next month. All right, other business. Yay, we got our members renewed. So, to balance our renewals, Carrie accepted my suggestion that we renew her for a year. And Mark and Mike and Ray were renewed for the typical 3. So hopefully, Sherry, we keep you interested. Then we can up you for 3 with whoever else is
Yeah, next year.
due on, I think Steve is also in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So, great. Glad to have you all here. Each one of you bring something different, something useful, something needed. Keep us on, on task. So, thank you. We've got just a mention of this new old policy for the Board of Selectmen. So, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that tonight, maybe none. But please do take a look at it. And the quick review I did on it suggested that it lines up pretty well with our specific RSA 36A. But if it were not to, I think our state RSA would tell us and inform us as a Conservation Commission what we're bound to, where our RSA is silent, and perhaps even where it has something different to say than what's in here. We should note it and keep it in mind, that there are some expectations and some things that perhaps we were not aware of before. And maybe on that one, Dave, do you have any admonition from the board and what you're hoping to get out of the committees and commissions and other boards in town?
This was, this was drafted up back in 2012, run through a public hearing and put into play in July 9th, 2012. And it was pulled out of the archives and just put in place. So I think all the board, I don't know if all the board members received the copy, but I think all the head of the boards are.
Just a thought, maybe it'd be a good idea to package this with things like the, not trying to skip on them, whatever, I can't find the right word. Ethics statement that we sign when we join the
So it's all
commission.
part of the same conversation.
This might be a good spot to have that go to new members who are kind of wondering, well, what am I committing to? So I might recommend that the board share this along with the ethics statement and things like that are required of new members as a important point of reference. And for those of us who've been doing this for a while, something that we don't cover, it's good to note. Attendance is an expectation if you're volunteering. So if you are volunteering and you can't attend regularly, then, well, the policy would say you should probably step off because you can't meet that expectation. So that's something that RSA 36A isn't going to touch. So just something, good thing for all of us to make sure to take a look at. And if we have questions on any particular points of it any time of the way, well, great, we've got a liaison to help us at these meetings, and we can always
We'll forward it to the board.
Yeah, we can always forward to members of the Board of Selectmen. And
So we put it in play, it seemed to run along with most of the RSAs that are in place for boards and
Yeah.
committees, so we had a little hiccup, something we do away, but we got through that portion of it.
good. And similarly, but a little different, just reminding everyone, right to know is important. Expectations have been laid out. We have more information than we did a year ago or certainly 2 years ago when it didn't even occur to us. So we've got a good reference, additionally provided, shared with us by intent of Board of Selectmen, so got questions, concerns, look it over and we can ask questions and educate each other and ourselves. Steve?
You know, for situational awareness, it would be nice just to know, I think, you know, for any rights and knows that are related to conservation, someone else is handling. Was that, do we know that Beth was handling that one, or was there more than one?
That one we did, because it was, you know, invoice records, it was
Yeah, so,
financials,
right, yep,
so,
yeah. So we did have an email on that one.
I think so.
Okay, so that's the only one, there wasn't
I
another
think
one?
we brought that up at meeting.
I thought you said there was another verbal one or something.
What did Jack say? He asked for something verbal at,
At the meeting,
Yeah, that was at the end, it was for the,
invoices to the.
oh, that, I mean, that, I don't, honestly, that's, not the
Oh.
purview of the commission. I mean, that sounds like asking a,
you know, we reviewed the RFKs on,
RT
No,
case. Yeah.
and, on Monday. So if there's anything related there, I can bring it to the committee, commission.
And, last but certainly not least, anything else, Dave, to share with us? Or to ask us so that you can share back to the selectmen?
No, we got the
The rest of
same two things, the lease for the Hayfield and RFP. I know you want to, get together with the board, regarding the RFP, but, we'll start
For-
thinking about getting,
For our contract forester?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's
That's a main deal for this commission to get through this year.
So, we wanna get that on the agenda at one point, or at least get the request in, so.
Yeah, we're almost gonna need like a work session.
Perhaps, perhaps that could be word to the board. Is there a light agenda work session that we can join you guys for in the next, 3 months, 2 months, a month? In this, before we get well into summer?
Yeah, I can bring it up in other business, Monday, see if we
Because
can-
I think Steve's point was, sit down face to face is, I think, potentially a strong benefit to us both to hash out a bunch of things in short order.
Oh, sounds good. I know the lease for the Hayfield, you, had that pretty well put together, and, you were gonna button it up, I think.
Well, that's rolled into the bigger question.
Yep. But you still wanna get that in, get that reviewed.
Yes. Yeah, I think you identified a gap in my homework completion over the last month. Life has been crazy. So, yes, thanks for the
The last-
reminder on that.
The last thing is you asked about the, permit for the gravel pit. Naomi's been pulling the paperwork for that, so, it's lapsed right now, correct? We just gotta review it and figure out where we're going with it.
Like the AO alteration of terrain for the, yeah, I don't think we ever even had one.
Yes, there was one
Oh, was there when we changed?
for the gravel pit, so. yeah.
It was still active, but it's expired. It has since expired, yes.
Yeah. Does that transfer with the owner or not? I didn't think it did.
You've got what you got to work on and sort the way forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a,
It's gonna take money to do it.
Are you just handing that to like town engineer and
We don't have one.
that's gonna be a bear to do?
Anyway, you asked about it, we grabbed the paperwork, so
good to hear, Dave, thank you.
that's all I got.
Great. Am I missing anything? All right, I don't seem to be missing anything. We've had a time of it here tonight, so let's wrap it up.
Motion?
Got a second?
Second.
All right, Steve made motion, Mike seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We adjourn at 10:14.
You can just go.